everybody. Good morning and welcome to Awaken Your Spirit again. I am Julie Murphy and I am the author of a book called Awaken Your Wealth. I'm the money chick, and I have realized that money is actually the result of everything else in your life. And so people wonder why they have this dance with money. It's because money is just the result of what's going on in your work life, in your family life, in your personal life, and how you are aligned with your heart and your soul. And so what I've done is I've created this awakening series to help us in these other areas so that the money can not only show up in our lives in a way that we desire, but also have it be sustainable in our lives the way that we desire, as opposed to this flow in and flow out, right? And the out tends to be more than the in. And so today we're working with my friend David Gallarde. David, tell everybody about yourself.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I'm the energy dude, okay? So,
yes, you are.
And so, you know, money and energy are really the same thing, right, Julie?
They really are. They really are, because money is energy. And what the question is with your money, what are you energizing in your life? And most people are not energizing everything that they desire. Right.
And so a lot of when money's flowing, you know, the word flow is so important, right? Mm-hmm. Because usually the heart's open, the creative centers are open, and we're just like letting things connect, flow, creativity, being inspired, right?
Right.
And an open heart. Mm. And the minute that things get weird, heart constricts, we get into fear, everything starts to like shrink down, right? You feel it physically, and then, you know, it shows up in your world, it shows up in the flow of your money.
Right. And so David and I want to do this because we want to help you to shift your energy so that your life can shift, because whether you believe it or not, everything is energy, whether it's our bodies or this booth behind me or the Christmas tree behind me. Everything in this world is energy. Einstein proved that. And so if we don't shift our energy to what it is that we desire, you can never actually really have it come into fruition, because then we get into all of our patterning and our suffering cycles and all this other stuff, and including the money. Like, you're not having the financial life that you want because of the energy and where it's all going. So this is really about us really working on getting back to our core. You know, when I first met David, I had a friend of mine who said to me, well, Jewel, you're coming to Sedona, and I think you're supposed to meet with someone who is a soul retrieval person or a soul activator. And I was like, and for those of you who aren't aware, you know, I actually had an experience giving birth to my soon-to-be 6-year-old, where I almost died on the operating table, and I saw the light. I had that near-death experience that people are talking about. And what happened in that process was, I feel like I retrieved my soul. I got more in alignment with my soul because I couldn't plug back into the world the same way again. There were things that I was no longer willing to tolerate or participate in certain relationships in certain ways. And so how that has unpacked for me in life, that when I went to Sedona back then, when my little guy was 2 years old, so that was 4 years ago now, I decided I wanted to activate this soul alignment that I had come into being. And that's when I was introduced to David. And so it's really about waking yourself back up and aligning with your heart and your soul and your internal knowing, so that you can start to really align and live the life that you really, truly desire.
Right. Well, you know, it's a vibrational universe.
Right.
And we can't be in states of pain and fear and struggle, and so emotionally compromised, and expect our lives to go well. And so part of that is reconnecting into our heart. And most of us have been trapped in our minds, and the heart goes, for most people, fairly unnoticed. And so if you think about your heart, you think about your pulmonary system, it's the center of your body's universe, really.
Right.
It's where you generate, it's where you flow, it's where the blood flows, all of that. So it's really important to start paying attention to your capacity to open your heart. And I remember the first time somebody said to me, you know, you really need to open your heart. And I thought, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You know, I'm like, all I could think was all the emotional pain that I'd suffered, right? And I'm like, why on earth would I want to do that, right? And I remember this woman saying to me, she said, because you can't get any farther on your spiritual journey. You're going to spend a life of suffering if you don't open your heart and heal. And I was like, okay, great. And at the same time, I'm thinking, I don't know about this.
Right.
But literally, and the we need to be fully functioning. So there's nothing wrong with the mental level, but there's the heart, the emotional level, the intelligence of the heart. And that is a whole perceptual field in itself. Once you wake up, then you move, a lot of your decisions in your life should come out of what I call knowing. And that knowing comes from the heart and ultimately the solar plexus, where you're sensing things as well as thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes all of that to navigate, particularly now, where we're in so much uncharted territory, right? The world we have known doesn't exist, and we are like on a journey of navigating through this new part of our lives. And
So true.
it takes every aspect of ourselves so that we can stay balanced.
Yep. Well, and I continue to coach clients in the fact that we need to insulate ourselves from all this chaos that's going on outside of us. So the more grounded and more centered and following our own personal knowing, and not hook into all of those things outside of ourselves that are trying to instill fear or instill chaos or uncertainty or making us feel unsafe, because there is so much out there that is trying to plug us into the fear, not feeling safe, the chaos, pick it, financial, health, elections, whatever. Like, you can plug into all of that. But what's super important right now is to go inside, and as that stuff presents itself, if you actually do your work in your own backyard, in your own heart, that then holds the safety for you, that you're not looking for an external thing to provide that for you. You're actually finding it within yourself. It's no different than when I think about, as I was getting divorced, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this with 4 kids that are 2, 4, 6, and 8 years old, and run a business and do all this while trying to still stay healthy and everything myself. And it was super interesting in how, as I just kept following my internal knowing, I was given practice sessions, if you will, to practice, okay, how do I do this layer by myself? And how do I do this layer by myself? And it was the fact that I was going by my own internal directive. I had people in my life that were telling me that I was absolutely crazy, but I was just like, but my knowing was that the highest and best for me, my kids, and my ex-husband was for us to no longer be married again. And so I had to find a way. And post it all, we found a way. So I would encourage all of you that are watching that you've got your story of that. You've got your story of what's making you feel unsafe or unfulfilled or making you feel chaotic or not financially fit, whatever. But remember, we are the creators of our lives. And so at any moment, at any time, you can create and choose a pivot point to create in a different direction. And I continuously keep saying that it's really, truly okay to disappoint others. Because if you're following your own internal knowing, The only reason why other people are disappointed is because you're mirroring to them that it's okay to choose you, and that it's okay to choose a path that is expansive and something that feels good, that makes you feel safer, that brings you this level of grounding from your core. And I just think that that's super important for all of us to really start to align with, which is why, you know, I spend my time with David on these Tuesday mornings, because I think it's super important to help you guys start to activate your souls and to align with your souls. Because what I've come to learn after 27 years of being a financial planner, that really does a holistic integration with our heart and our soul in our financial management, that when you don't live your life from your soul, I always say that here's free will, and then here's the path that your soul has decided to live. And the farther you are away from that, from your free will, the bigger the life crisis is that comes in to jar you, to put you back on the path that you came to live here by. And so we don't have to call in that crisis. We don't have to call in on a soul level. I know people don't consciously call this in, but we do call it in on a soul level, these experiences. On some level, I called in having a near-death experience with my son and giving birth to him, because that jarred me to my core. And I can now see in hindsight how it was all orchestrated, divinely orchestrated, so that I could get back in alignment with me, because I am so much happier today. I have so much more happiness in my life and grace and ease because I chose me. And I disappointed a lot of people along the way. You know, I even talk about, you know, my dad, I am like one of his favorites. And when I got divorced, he just kept saying, "Is he really that bad, Jewel? Can't you just take him back?" And it was really interesting, because back in the day, my mom took him back after they got separated. And so that was his story, but it wasn't my story. And we all have people in our lives that play those roles for us to go, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" So David, what are you seeing like in the collective, and how can we help people get to this next place to really align with their souls and get to this place so we can like detach from all this chaos and fear and just dismay, while everything yet seems like it's falling apart, but it's actually, I think, really falling together. It's just coming in a chaotic package, right? So how do people really get back to their core? What are your thoughts there?
Well, first of all, I want to say that we are in a time of, I'll call it, transformation.
Major transformation.
And that transformation is global, obviously. Everybody's part of it. So going anywhere where there's a victim script going on,
there's a lot of those going on.
It's like, hey, the whole collective, all humans are in this journey.
We really are.
And so the first thing, to ask is, where am I in my journey? And you're being called to awaken. What does that mean? That means that you're being called to go into your heart. You're called to go into your soul. And if you don't know what that means, then, the first part of the journey is like really asking, okay, what does that mean for me? And where do I start?
Right.
Where do I start? And so one of the biggest programs on the planet is the program of the victim.
Oh, and it is strong.
The victim programming will literally suck the life force out of you. That's what it's designed to do. It's to make you feel helpless, hopeless, might as well give up now, right?
Right.
And but another alternative is to move into a different decision where you go, you know what? I do need to go into my core. I do need to go into my inner truth. Even if I don't know what that is right at the moment, that's okay.
Yeah, because most people don't. I would like to say that most people probably don't. They just know that they want something to shift.
Right. And, and unfortunately, usually pain's a motivator, right? It's like, I'll do anything so I don't have to feel as bad as I feel right this moment. So
You almost dying on the operating table.
yeah, exactly.
That was my catalyst to shift my life.
So, Julie's dramatic. She almost had to take herself out, right?
Yeah, my boyfriend always tells me, he goes, "Why are you surprised? You don't do anything small. It's always got to be big." And I'm like, valid point.
So, and so I would say when I met Julie 4 years ago, she wasn't quite sure what had happened to her. She knew something very dramatic had happened. And I think in probably our first meeting, I was like, you went into the light, you died and you came back, and you are in a whole different ensoulment, a new consciousness. And so things are not the same. You have to have a new relationship with all your children, and with, at that time, her husband, if that was going to work, which it didn't. But it was also a whole new relationship with Julie. Would you agree with that?
The most important part. Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize it at the time, but yes, it was Julie interfacing with Julie on a whole different level.
Right.
Yep.
So ultimately, her near-death experience also became her greatest opportunity. It was a platform to build a new life.
Yeah.
And in that platform, there were a lot of things that had to change.
Tons had to change, yeah.
One of them was the marriage. It was pretty apparent that it wasn't going to work out.
Right.
And I can remember the day Julie and I had this conversation, and I'm like, Julie, I think I know you well enough now. You're pretty powerful, pretty strong. I think you can do this. But, and I also said, a lot of people can't, but I believe you can. And I said, I would really think through whether you want to stay in this marriage, because I don't know that it's ever going to get any better. It's probably going to get worse. And so we went away from that session, and Julie did some thinking,
Well, and it actually got worse because I thought too long.
Yeah. Right. And this morning before we got on, we were talking about the whole idea of dragging people and situations along that we need to let go of.
Yeah.
And, it was like the easy, sometimes it seems like the easy way is to keep dragging it along, right? Where the tough decision is, it's like, okay, my life is going to be a real challenge for a while. So her life was definitely a real challenge when she decided to get a divorce.
Yep.
It didn't go easy.
Mm-mm.
But ultimately, the freedom from that decision,
right,
I think has been the bedrock for a whole new life and a whole new reconstruction of consciousness. So right. All of us sometimes have to go, we have to make tough decisions.
Can I also add that it was the restructuring of a life that I thought I knew what that would look like, but it has showed up in a completely different package than my ego mind could have ever possibly have imagined. I just kept setting the intention of what it is that I wanted to create. But my goodness gracious, that did not come in the package that I expected. I'm super happy, but this is where we really have to, this is detach and surrender, that we actually really don't know. And the more we can surrender and allow and be in the flow, the faster and easier it can all come into fruition.
Right. So, some people may be familiar with the idea of surrender. Other people would probably go like, what are you talking about? I don't surrender to anything. I'm a fighter.
Fair enough.
and certainly Julie has got the warrior spirit in her, no doubt. And so did I. So I still do. But there comes a point of where you really see, it's like there comes a point where you go, I don't know.
Yeah.
And in that surrendering, you're going into your heart. You're going into another level of yourself that probably has been fairly dormant, because if you've got a really powerful ego, every time it comes up, you probably tell it to shut up and go away. Yeah,
or I know better. Oh, silly you. You think you know better? Nah, I don't think so. Yeah. That's what a lot of my journey has taught me.
Right.
And I am, like you said, I'm a warrior spirit. I have pushed, I have strived, I have like worked harder than most people. And yet it has given me a lot in my life. But I got to tell you, this allowing, surrendering, and being able to receive has been exponential compared to the push and the striving. And it's been really amazing. And I feel more in alignment and more in balance. And I know that can be true for all of you as well, which is why it's super important for us to really start to work on our energy behind all this stuff, to activate who you are, why you came to be here, and how can you aid to getting the world to this next place, healthy space.
Right. So if you look at, look at the crisis that happened in Julie's life, which was giving birth to her fourth child and having a near-death experience. But it was the platform, it was the bedrock for her to change the entire structure of her life. And at that point, so she was at a choice point, a place of surrender. And it was like, what do I pull forward with me and what do I delete? So for all of you that are in challenges that you don't even know where to start, okay? As this can be the springboard, it can be the opportunity for tremendous transformation. And that transformation always starts with going into the heart and starting to listen to yourself, listen to that part of yourself, rather than so much the mind. And how do you know when you're in the heart? You start to feel it, okay? Yeah. So it's not only what you think, but what do you feel? And I'm not talking about emotional reactive stuff. I'm going when you're
definitely not.
Right. I'm like, when you're sitting still, when you give yourself the opportunity to sit still, whether maybe it's in nature, maybe, wherever you can go into a place of stillness and start to hear your inner self, to listen to that and go into deep truth telling, which is not the ego telling you what a rotten person you are. It's like going into a very quiet, loving space within yourself and going, here's the pluses, here's the minuses. What do I choose?
Right.
And so, and we're being asked to do this on a global level. It's across the board. Nobody gets out of this, okay?
Correct.
There's a lot of work to do because we are going through an evolution of being, of consciousness. We will not come out of this whole process the same people that we were when we started it.
Right.
And it's designed that way. It's a massive transformation of consciousness. What's going to happen? Why are we going through this? Because the fear that the humans have been living in needs to clear. It doesn't work anymore.
Right.
We've been trapped in fear. We've been trapped in programs that have come through our family DNA, stories that have come through our family DNA.
Lots of stories.
In a fractured place where we are like, we can't complete ourselves because we're in all these distorted vibrational fields. And a lot of this distortion comes in stories. It comes in our family stories.
Right.
So this can be the first day, of the rest of your life where you go, you know what, I'm going to start walking in a different direction.
Right.
And how do I know that? Because I choose it.
Totally.
And the most powerful thing you can do is go, from this day forward, it's going to be different. I don't know how that's going to happen or why it's going to happen, but I choose to open my heart. I choose to become fully connected. And my greatest wish, perhaps, is that at some point I can really connect into more advanced levels of myself. There's so many parts of me that have not even been revealed to me. Can you imagine living your life and never having the opportunity to connect into yourself fully?
Bummer.
That.
It's like you haven't done yourself the service of being you and who you are and what you came to be here. And, you know, you never see anyone on their deathbed ever saying that they wish they would have spent more money and worked more. You know, it's always about this piece of, I wish I would have experienced more of me in the world. And, you know, so we have the opportunity now.
Right.
So let's get cracking.
Right. And so I'm going to, you know, I've said it many times. It's like the real journey for you is for you to fall in love with yourself. And, you know, people like, oh, well, that's pretty narcissistic. But the truth is, if you don't love you, nobody else is going to. That's your job.
You know, I said in my meditations now, I used to say in my meditations, you know, that I want to be loved, I want to be adored. And then I was like, oh, no. This isn't about somebody else outside of myself giving me something else. I say, you know what? I want to adore myself. I want to acknowledge myself. I want to respect myself. I want to appreciate myself so that someone else and others can do the same, because they can't do that for you until you do it for yourself. And I think that's super important for people to learn.
So you can begin today a journey of awakening to a much vaster part of yourself. And as I said, how do you do that? You decide you're going to do it. Most people have no idea how they're going to do it, but the first thing is the decision. And once you make that decision, life starts to show up in certain ways for you. People come into your life, information comes into your life, opportunity comes into your life, and you begin to go through this metamorphosis. So, you know, oftentimes I like to talk about the caterpillar and the butterfly. And so humanity, humans are going through this metamorphosis. And so what happens, at some point, the caterpillar starts to kind of melt, right? Go into this viscous state, and out of that comes the butterfly. So that viscous state is when we start going into the unknown, into levels of ourself that have been dormant, that become active. And so the greatest journey you can ever take is the journey of self-discovery. And so as you have that opportunity to go move into that level of self-discovery, is to also have what I call awakening. And that is to find out that there are levels of you that exist in very powerful states of light. There are levels of you that exist in states of love and states of ecstasy that are dormant right now. But that doesn't mean that they can't be activated.
Right. No different than that we can activate disease in our body, we can activate the expansionary parts of ourselves. It's like, let's get busy doing the things that make us happy and make us giggle.
Right. And so, you know, first it might be that you've got so much going on in your life that those things have to be simple things, right?
Sure.
Maybe it's like you give yourself time to take that walk, or you give yourself time to do the exercise that you want, or you give yourself time to read something inspiring, so that you, as simple as it is, you have the power to change your life. So in picking up something inspiring to read, that even if you've only got 10 minutes,
right,
you're headed in a direction of empowerment.
Right.
And I'll tell you, as you learn to, and part of that is as you empower others, you're empowered. Okay. So this
Totally.
whole idea, it's like ultimately as we have more to share with people, as we get stronger in our open heart and everything, and we're able to share with others, in those acts of empowering others, we become empowered also.
Agreed.
And our lives become joyful. And so, we'll go back to 4 years ago when I met Julie. Probably a lot of the people in your life, Julie, are very different than they were 4 years ago, right?
I have none of the friends that I had.
Right.
I'm completely detached from trying to fix other people's stuff in my family, which a lot of them on some level got angry about. They're starting to all come around, but when you play a role for people, I always say that you train people how to treat you, that it's not the other person. It's how you're showing up to those other people. You've trained them to behave that way. And so my whole landscape looks completely different. But again, I am so happy, because when you start to undo patterns and you start to release people and things in your life that really aren't aligned with your heart, not that you don't love them, but I had a lot of relationships that I was giving and they were taking, but I chose that. On some level, I chose that. And I just decided I wanted mutually beneficial relationships. And at that time, most of those people didn't want that. And some of them may come back around, because I'm starting to see that happening, but they had to find their footing, first. But I've had a complete revamp of my life over the last 4 years, complete revamp. But I'm super happier. And I actually noticed the other day, little things happen. Like I noticed the other day, like, oh my God, the roots of my gray hair are actually brown. See, I'm shifting everything. So my physiology is changing. My skin is changing. Like people keep saying, oh my God, you look so much younger. It's amazing when you align how then it shows up on the physical level too. And I'm happier. My kids are like, Mom, you're pretty funny. Like they just remember me being the one that was working all the time and kind of grumpy. Mom's happy now. I'm not hitting the grindstone 24/7, So it's really, really changed. So shall we take them into the energy, David, so
Sure.
we can start to get them energetically aligned? So this is to me one of the most important parts, because David will be channeling energy to us. And if you really just close your eyes and if you start to feel something physiologically, just know that's the energy coming towards you. And whether you're listening to this live or down the road, the energy still comes. And so I have come to learn that, when we're getting our training wheels and we're trying to align ourselves, that it's super important to get some of this support to help us get through the parts that we don't necessarily know how to get through. And this will help us do that. So take it away, my friend, Mr. David.
Okay. Okay, everybody. Well, if you've done this with me before, but what I want you to do is experience yourself in a pyramid of light, like a huge pyramid of light, like the Pyramid of Giza. Okay. we got to do it big. So a big pyramid of light. At the base of the pyramid are 3 circles of light, 13 mama dragons, 13 pointed stars, and 13 dream weavers. And they're actually 13 pyramids stacked on top of each other. And I want you to imagine or experience this 24-karat radiant golden light, plasma light. You can imagine it's kind of like really bright sunlight coming into your toes, your arches, your heels. You should feel it moving into your ankles, feeling that light flowing up your legs, into your hips. And when we get to the base of the spine, I want you to experience a radiant sun, a central sun at the base of the spine, feeling the warmth and the radiance of that light. And we're going to continue up your spine. And when we get to the heart, we're going to place a central sun in the heart. Again, I want you to feel the radiance and the light in your heart of that central sun. we're going to focus on the heart for a moment, feeling that radiance and that sun. And I'm going to just send some energy directly into your heart. Really getting the heart to activate, open, connect. And I'd like you to think about, as we're doing this with the heart, really deciding to open your heart completely. And that's a big decision. And, you know, when I was asked to do that, I was like, I don't know. You know, it sounds like trouble. You know, it just sounds like heartache. And I was like, but the truth is that you're being called to open your heart. You cannot go to the next levels of awakening, of advancing as a human and a soul on this planet without that. So you're going to be stuck in your head and you're going to be stuck in your emotions if you don't choose to open your heart. So I suggest you do. And if you can't do that right now, I suggest that you just think about it and maybe come back to that. Anyway, we're going to continue with that golden light up your spine, into your shoulders. Feel that light flowing into your upper arms, your lower arms. Feel it flowing into your hands, your fingers. We're going to place central 2 suns in your palms and your fingertips. So we have radiant suns in the fingertips and in the palms, just feeling the energy of that. And we're going to go to the brainstem, where I'm going to place another central sun. And at the brainstem, we're just placing that central sun, and I want you to just feel radiance of that, like a sun that's just sending all that energy. I want you to feel it moving, activating, particularly in the neurostructure of the brain. Just kind of feel your whole brain kind of switching on, opening up. And so we're going to go, I want to go back to the base of the brain, base of the spine, and connect a figure 8 of light from the base of the spine through your heart, up and around your brainstem, so that you've got like a figure 8 of light that is continually flowing this radiant 24-karat plasma light throughout your body. And we're going to go back to the brainstem, where I want to activate your thymus, your hypothalamus, your pituitary, and your pineal gland. And the pineal gland is a very important gland, and it's in the center of your brain, and that is the gland that connects you to higher levels of awareness and consciousness. So we're placing a central sun in that pineal gland, and we're going to expand it from global to galactic, and from galactic to interdimensional. So just feeling an expansion in the very center of your brain, feeling an expansion of light. And that's going to connect you into greater awareness in the multiverse, which is universal levels of awareness, into holographic and multidimensional consciousness, as well as connecting you into galactic levels. And we just want to feel your whole neurostructure, the whole brain switching on now, just waking up, connecting, feeling this flowing light. And I'm going to ask you to spiral out your third eye, out your crown, out the apex of the pyramid. And we're going to start traveling this plasma light, traveling through the galactic corridor. So you are now light in form, plasma light in form. And we're going to merge your heart with the plasma of the central sun. I want you to feel the plasma of the central sun really merging into your entire bloodstream. Feel it activating all the capillaries, the veins. Feel it activating the blood crystals, so that you have this tremendous force of plasma light from the central sun pulsing through your whole pulmonary system. And we're going to continue then traveling through this galactic corridor and come through a galactic gateway through the initiate, and we're going to come upon a beautiful kaleidoscope of fractal light. And as we go, and that kaleidoscope is moving in a clockwise direction, And at the very center of that kaleidoscope, as it spirals, you're going to see like a radiant eye, all-seeing eye, which is actually the central sun. And I want you to feel yourself being pulled through that portal, into the sun, into the radiance of the sun. There we go. And I'm just I'm going to be quiet now and just channel some of this beautiful light code that comes from the central sun. Knowing that that light code is going to go into your field, into your consciousness, exactly where it needs to go. And if your heart's open and you're pretty sensitive, you might even start feeling that you're going into the energy of ecstasy or bliss. And so as you go, I want you to imagine yourself now literally in the sun, in the central sun, and see yourself standing in the center in a cocoon of light, of radiant light. And feel yourself just in spirals of light going from the base of your feet all the way up through and past the top of your head, so that you're just feeling being bathed in these spirals of light that are clearing and cleaning any and all chaos, confusion, clearing emotional pain and suffering. Feel yourself moving as this light moves through you and purifies and cleans you. Feel yourself being uplifted. Feel yourself being able to take a deep breath. Feel yourself being connected to your core and your center. Perhaps even being connected into your soul level. And if you can reach into your soul level, you'll have this knowing, this sense that despite turbulence, despite chaos, there's a very core all is well. And at that core, you're connecting into your heart. And as we go deeper into the heart, deeper into that feeling of connection and all is well, notice that it's possible that your head can be telling you one thing, but your heart's telling you something else. You're feeling something else. You're connecting into some kind of knowing. And it's this heartfelt knowing that is your true north. This is the core of you. And this is what you want to pay attention to. So you're going to really accelerate the energy for you to go deep into your core and to feel that. that place of peace, that place of radiant light. And with practice, that place of joy and perhaps ecstasy and bliss, ultimately. All right, so I'm going to start having everybody kind of come back into focus. Bringing that energy with you and through you. You can use to continue throughout your day. And I'm going to connect back with Julie now. Hey, Julie.
Hello. I hope everyone is feeling as zen as I am right now. So I want us to recognize how this is the feeling that as we make decisions in life and as we navigate through our day, to come from this same place of groundedness, this same place from our core. And if we're not in this place of groundedness, then know that that's not the time to make big decisions or to move things forward on some level, because you may or may not be doing it from your core and your essence of your internal knowing. It'll come more from your patterning and your reactivity. So know this feeling that you're having right now in this groundedness. This is the place we want to expand from. And if any of you, by all means, every Tuesday, David and I do this, except for when one of us is out of town. And come join us again next Tuesday at 8. And we wish you guys all the best and have a great day, because you deserve it. And David, if they want to do some one-on-one sessions with you, how do they find you?
They can find me at Michael Gallarde, that's GILARDY.com. And it's my website. And I would love to work with anybody that is interested. Just give me a connect with me, and we'll schedule something, and that way I can do in-depth work with people that I can't do with this. This is just kind of a nice. This is
kind of an appetizer, so you can kind of feel like what it's like to do the energy work. And there are some months that I don't do any work with David, and there's some months I do 6 sessions with David one-on-one. And it's just about what feeds you at that moment and what you're trying to transition through.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks everybody, and have the best day ever. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a